Hi, it's the end of March, so this is the second half of my March wrap-up. I did one earlier on, sort of mid-month, when I'd already read 8 books, and I'm now going to talk to you about 10. I've had an amazing March reading, I really have. So I'm not going to dwell too long on each book because there are 10, and there are other videos when I go into more detail about the books, and because I'm sort of running out of time a bit, some of them will come on after this because I've not got round to getting them all sorted yet. But we'll make a start. The first book that I want to talk about is one of the Women's Prize long list, and it's Build Your House Around My Body by Violet Kupersmith. This one, it is all about sort of snakes and shape-shifting and monsters, and we've got 2 timelines of missing girls. And I found that it's a book where past deeds reverberate, where there's retribution for things that have gone in the past. And we have switches in time from post-war, pre-war, present day. And I found the ending a little bit confusing, but I enjoyed the book nonetheless. It was a book about women and retribution. The second one was the Costa Award winner for this year, and it was The Kids by Lowe. And this was a book of sonnets. And this really resonated with me because Lowe is a teacher, and some of the poems are about being in a classroom, and I could totally engage with those because she was describing experiences that I'd had myself. There were other poems in there about her growing up as a mixed race woman, her own childhood, her own education, and then moving on to her own son. As with all poetry, not every poem will touch you. Everybody feels differently about different poems, but on the whole, I really enjoyed that because there was so much in there that I could relate to. The next one was, again, off the Women's Prize shortlist, and it was Flamingo by Rachel Elliott. And I really did enjoy this one. We have 2 timelines again. We've got 1984 and 2018, and it's set mainly in Norfolk. And we've got 2 families, Eve and her son Daniel, and then we've got Sherry, Leslie, and their 2 children, Ray and Pauline. And when Eve and Daniel become neighbours of Sherry and Leslie in 1984, they're immediately accepted, and it almost becomes this huge extended family until the relationship ends very, very abruptly. And then we move on to 34 years later when Daniel returns. I really enjoyed that book, and the characters, it was just full of life. The next one was a NetGalley book, and I was very sort of disappointed with this one, and it was Bitter Orange Tree by Jokha Alharthi. I think that's the way you pronounce it. And we have Zahir, who's an Omani student in the UK, and she's reflecting on her relationships when she was growing up in the Arabian Peninsula and her relationships that she's made here when she's at university. It's almost as though she's reflecting on the relationships to try and get a better understanding of how to assimilate into Britain. And a lot of it is about her grandmother. And at the end of it, I didn't get the end of it. I didn't feel that there was a conclusion to this book at all. It disappointed me, which was a pity. The next one was again off the Women's Prize long list. My library has been so amazing so far. I've had 4 off the short list. Long list. It is long list, yes. No, it isn't. It's short list. Ignore me. It's the Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki. And again, a wonderful book. And we have Benny, who's 14, and when his father dies, he begins to hear voices. Everything's talking to him. His socks talk to him. They don't like to be apart. They like to be in pairs. Scissors talk to him. They want to cut. That is the reason for scissors. They need to cut. And when he gets hospitalised, he meets a whole different bunch of people, almost like society's misfits. And he finds solace with them and solace in the library. And you have the book as well. You've got two different voices in the book. You've got Benny's voice and also the book's voice. The book of Benny's life is also a narrator. Super book. You've got the idea of impermanence. You've got the idea of unquiet spirits. It touches on depression and mental illness. Brilliant book. Absolutely loved it. And the next one, this one, Sky Day by Leone Ross. Oh, amazing. An incredible book. So full of love and exuberance and colour. And we are in this archipelago where magical realism rules. Everybody's got a magic. It could be an ability to change a colour, or it could be that you've got 3 arms, but everybody is accepted. And it is just a book so full of life. I absolutely adored it. That was one of my 5 stars. Moving on, I've got another one from the Carnegie Medal shortlist. I'm getting my longs and my shorts muddled up. Shortlist. And this is Everyone Dies Famous in a Small Town. The idea that in a small town, your misdemeanour is recognised by everybody, you're suddenly famous. And it's a selection of short stories about teenagers in small towns, and each can be read as a standalone. But as you read the book, you find that there is a connection between all of them. They're all interconnected, they're all interwoven really, really cleverly. And some very vibrant stories in this. The next one was also another from the Carnegie Medal, and this was another 5-star. Punch in the Air by Zoboi and Yusef Salaam. And it's a book in verse, and it is so powerful. It's about injustice and discrimination. Amal has been jailed for a crime that he didn't do, and it's how his art and his poetry help him survive the juvenile detention centre. It is so, so powerful. That was another 5-star. Absolutely loved it. Then we move on to another NetGalley, The Cove by Alice Clark-Platts. And again, this was a disappointing one for me. It sounds as though it should be really good. You've got 2 families going on to an island where there's no Wi-Fi, where they've got to wait for the next boat to take them off. And there's tension as well with the locals, but I just didn't like the families. I wasn't that enamoured with the big reveal. It just didn't do anything for me. It promised so much from the premise, and for me, I just didn't really engage with it at all, which is a disappointing one because I do like my thrillers. The final one is this one, another from the Carnegie Medal shortlist, and it's Guard Your Heart by Divin, and it's set 18 years after the Troubles in Northern Ireland, and we have a young Catholic lad and a young Protestant girl, and it's the story of how their lives get entangled and whether or not they're ever able to escape the legacy of the Troubles. And that was a book full of compassion and heartbreak. Really enjoyed that one. So out of the 10 books that I read for this wrap-up and the 8 that I read for my mid-month wrap-up, I've got to choose a book of the month. And I have 3 5-stars in this over the whole of March. The Crossing by Manjeet Maan, Punching the Day by Zoboi and Yusef Salaam, and this one, Sky Day by Leone Ross. Those were my 3 5-stars. And I've got to go with Leone Ross. That book was so exuberant and magical and full of colour. So my book of March is this one, Sky Day by Leone Ross, and I just hope it does well in the Women's Prize. So, happy reading, take care, and bye.